Ongoing sleep problems for babies could be to blame for anxiety as a child gets older. And a new study by researchers in Australia shows infants who have persistent sleep issues are 3 times more likely to have emotional problems by the age of 4 and twice as likely to have emotional disorders by age 10. Those disorders include separation anxiety, depression, and bipolar disorder. And this week happens to be Sleep Awareness Week, and after daylight saving time and the weekend, good chances are we're all still struggling a little bit with this. So joining me right now in the CBS 11 Green Room, Dr. Brandy Roane, a certified behavioral sleep medicine specialist. And we were talking about babies who have disorders, emotional disorders because of the lack of sleep. I would imagine that could extend to people as well.
Oh, most definitely.
Well, adults, I should say.
Adults, most definitely. We've found that sleep is connected to mental health issues, physical health, so things like cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, throughout the lifespan, not just infants or older adults, but even older children, adolescents, and young adults experience issues as a consequence of poor sleep.
Yeah, and talk a little bit about what kind of health impacts it can have if you're not getting a good night's sleep.
So health impacts can range from kind of acute, meaning short term, we feel poorly the next day, we don't perform as well, to long ranging, meaning we develop things like type 2 diabetes based on a dysregulation of our internal clock when we don't sleep well, and that clock regulates lots of things in our body, so it can cause things like developing type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, can increase likelihood of stroke, hypertension or high blood pressure, things of that nature. And that's just the physical things. You also have an increase in depression, anxiety, and that kind of stuff.
And, I know that the recommended amount of sleep, 8 hours a night, that's kind of the standard, but I feel like so many of us struggle with that. What can we do to increase our chances of getting that good night's sleep?
So that's a great question. Treat it like every other health behavior. So we often focus on having a good diet or engaging in physical activity, which means that we have to make it a priority. So if we're going to try to improve our sleep, you have to actually schedule it. So it might mean that you look at your calendar, and instead of first slotting in when am I going to do this activity and this activity, you first go, okay, when am I going to need to sleep? And then after I've set that, where do I fit everything else? And take it slowly, so baby steps. So it's not something where just like the New Year's resolution, I'm going to start exercising.
One step at a time.
One step at a time. So do small changes. If you're right now getting about 6 hours of sleep, try to expand it to about 6.5 hours, and then take it to 7, and then take it to 7.5. So kind of do it incrementally to both help with you actually filling it with sleep, but also to actually increase it in your daily routine.
What can we do in our environment to help us be more restful? Because I know for me the problem is getting comfortable and falling asleep. I feel like I'm wired when I get home.
Most definitely. So a lot of times for kids, we develop bedtime routines, and we do that to help cue them, hey, the next step is you're going to actually get into bed. As we take on sleep as our own thing, so we hit adolescence, young adulthood, we stop doing a bedtime routine. We often go, oh, I'm just going to do this, this, and this, or I'm doing that, and then you try to roll over and go to sleep, and you're like, and I'm not sleeping.
Right. We've been there.
Yes. So develop a bedtime routine. 4 to 5 activities that take you from your last non-sleep activity to bed. Ideally, that last one is going to be something kind of calm. So you could, if you particularly tend to be wired, you might want to read something kind of boring, or do a adult coloring page or something of that nature before you get into bed. The other thing is to be mindful of what you're associating with your bed. So for instance, bed should really cue sleep. So if we're doing other things in bed besides sleep, which often means we have our cell phone.
Yeah, got to get those cell phones out of the bedroom.
Yes.
That's a big thing. All right, Dr. Roane, great advice. Thank you so much for being here. Ken, we'll send things back to you.
Yeah, that last tip we hear all the time. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.